act out certain ways of being without realizing it's our. Oh, we're going live. Good. About time we did that.
It cut out for a second and then it went back in. So.
So all right, I'll start over. No. But the thing is,
pineapple.
It wasn't my pineapple. God's is in a bag, so. Where was I again? Yeah. So the thing I'm going to say is that really that we have got to look at what we're driven by. You know, if we are getting influenced, impacted, programmed by our parents, not intentionally, but we don't necessarily look back and go, hang on a second, I don't want to do that, what they did. You know, so we have choices. And bottom line is we do have choice. But there's so much more than just romantic relationships in this conversation, because it's about how we are with ourselves first.
Now, even in the business world and stuff, I mean, you've got to have confidence in what you're doing, or else you're kind of reaching out in desperation, right?
And integrity, self-respect,
yeah.
All those things. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, any one of us can talk to that.
Absolutely. John, you were mentioning before, you were talking about, you know, business relationships and how important they are in everything that you do. You know, do you have like some guidelines on how you choose who you work with and what relationships you build?
You know, and again, as I had a great class a few years ago, and the key word was vibe with your tribe. You've got to get along with everybody you work with. And Barry had said it. You got to have confidence. You can't be a sales guy and not be confident, because they're gonna read through it. You got to stick with your contacts. You got to stay. You know, great example is Kellyanne. You know, we met on here.
That's a sign. No. That's a sign.
Is that me?
Okay, whose stomach is upset?
That wasn't me.
Hey, I don't even have a dog, and I looked around.
That's actually a friendly hello.
One of the things that I think Kellyanne would agree with is I write 5 letters a day, handwritten letters a day. My handwriting is like a doctor, but the best way to start out with is, I've been thinking about you. What does that do? That automatically, man, he's been thinking about me. And you just, it's common sense, it's relationship. And you do, you know, when I talk to borrowers about a mortgage, you're going to hire an attorney, you're going to hire a realtor, you're going to hire a home inspector, these people work for you. Do not feel bad about firing them. They work for you. It's your relationship to make that smooth. And that goes with any line of business. I mean, it's so far forgotten right now with COVID and all that other crap that's going on. Man, you pick up the phone, or you make 5 written hand calls, or you pick up the phone 10 times a day, let someone know you're thinking about them. I had a guy call me the other day, actually yesterday, and he said, hey, I'm calling the top 10 people on my list that are my favorite people. And then he said, oh, wait, my list is upside down. You're actually on the bottom. But you know what? We made a great contact. The guy's named Joe. He works for a real estate company. I laughed. He laughed. We made a connection. So I think it really, honestly, Scott, is going back to the basics on relationships, business, personal, no matter what it is. Just making people feel special about themselves.
Speaking of relationships, Lynn is with us. She's saying, thank you guys for showing up. I love and appreciate you all. And Lynn, we feel the same way about you. Absolutely. I'm sorry I couldn't be here tonight, but hey, everybody needs to go do something different every once in a while. We all got things to do. Thanks for sharing all that, John. You know, I got to ask you one thing though. This letter writing thing, you're big on this. You talk about this a lot. Where did that come from? Where did that start for you? I'm just curious. Was that something you just one day said, what the hell, let me do this? Or was there something behind that?
You know, I got a file there in my briefcase. It's just something I did. And it's like, why don't I do this? And again, my handwriting is brutal. But I wrote one today, just to give you an example. There's a Shell station. I know this is weird. There's a Shell gas station by my house that has the absolute 100% best customer service I've ever seen in a gas station. Best food. I don't know if they have a deli behind the gas pumps, what they're doing. We were in there, the guy's working 3 pumps at the same time. Not pumps. He's working 3 registers. I wrote the owner a note today. And I'm like, dude, you don't get it. Your team is amazing. They get it from you. I will be here forever. Just to let you know, I appreciate you, and I come in every day. Obviously, it's on a business card because you never know if they need a mortgage. But nobody compliments people. You could do a two-word email. Hey, Scott, I've been thinking about you. Thanks for being you. How are you going to feel when you get that in the mail, handwritten? You're going to open up a handwritten envelope before you're going to open up your bills, before you're going to open up your junk mail. Anything handwritten, the number one thing open up, and you get something going, this dude John said I'm awesome. Great. I got his card. I'll throw it in the bag. But you're going to start your day with a smile on your face.
That's awesome. Although I got to tell you, with my past, when I get something handwritten, I usually call in the bomb squad before I open it. Just with my past. Callan, darling, tell us about relationships.
That's my business. But I'm going to go back to what Barry said, because until I learn to love myself completely without any, without worried about my weight, worried about my hair, just all these things that I know women worry about. Once I got past all that and just loved the me inside as well as the love of me outside, everything kind of snowballed into greatness. It's like when you have self-confidence, everything builds from that, because you're more confident in your work, you're more confident in your personal relationships, you're more confident in everything that you do. And I thought it was silly self-help, but when I did take the time and I dug deep, I'm not even going into what the whole process, because it took 2 years, honestly. And but the end of it, the end result is amazing, because, and then with that confidence, you trust your instincts, which I think, Barry, you also talked about, trusting your inner voice. And it's a great snowball of success for me. It's turned my life around by just accepting myself the way I am, but be evolving. You have to be evolving. See, I can't say, okay, I spent 2 years, I'm fixed, and just sit there, because I am constantly evolving, and it's a roller coaster. I bet it's fun. It really is. So in regards to relationships, and that's where I go back to where John and my business is. That handwritten note shows that extra effort, that extra personal touch, and that's where there's the shift in your business paradigm, where instead of having clients, you have relationships. So when I'm doing my talks on how to make gratitude work, I say, I've been in business for over 2 years and I don't have any clients. That's because I have, over 1,000 relationships. And that's the key, is to build the relationship. And I think it all begins with loving yourself and being confident with yourself in your own skin.
When you go through a metamorphosis like you're talking about, where you start to love yourself and appreciate yourself, mm-hmm. Did you notice that it seemed like the quality of people around you changed almost with that? And do you believe that that's because you just started to notice those people, and they were always there, or do you think you attracted them?
It's because when you have that confidence, you have the ability to create healthy boundaries. And that was key, because I was hanging around with a bunch of people that were just bringing me down. And, you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to be a loser. You can't survive on your own. And with confidence became the ability to set up the boundaries. And as far as business, you use it in that too, because you fire clients. It's okay to fire a client that is not serving you, or is, sucking energy out of you, or, the confidence does so much for personal and business.
Absolutely. Let me acknowledge, we've got Darlene with us. She says, hey friends, I got you live tonight. We got Paul McFarlane with us, and says, everything is a relationship, for inner self to outer everything and everyone. All grows endless gratitude, learning, listening, and curiosity. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you. And Rex, you've been listening to us, and I'm sure you're formulating some thoughts there. The relationship with self, how it extends out to other people. What do you think about all that? Mike.
I think so.
Thanks for sharing. And now,
ditto to everything everyone said. I would add, the relationship with yourself is the most important for a number of reasons, and that is you spend more time with yourself than anyone else. And if you don't like your own company, why would anybody else like your company?
Mhm.
And what typically happens is people who don't like their company want somebody else to like them and like their company and help them be different or complete them in some way. And so what you're really doing is sucking the energy out of another person in order to feel better. So if that's how you're moving through life, the chances of having really wonderful connections and beautiful relationships with other people, whether it's business or family or friends or whatever, strangers, probably is not that likely. So the first order of business is to develop yourself as a person worthy of your own relationship with you, and understand that you deserve to be who you are. And the thing is somebody will say, "Hey, you fat slob, you need to lose weight." Right? They talk to themselves that way, or whatever. It's okay to say I need to lose weight, but a better way to do that, to say I want to, maintain an ideal weight or something along those lines. It's okay to change. I mean, it's not, when I accept myself doesn't mean I have to accept myself and not want to innovate, but I could just say I'm perfect the way I am and I don't have to do anything about it. But when you're going to deal with other people, you ought to have something to offer. And if you're not first loving and first respectful and first listening and first kind and first compassionate, why would they want to be with you other than because they're trying to complete themselves? And if two people are trying to complete themselves, or two businesses are trying to complete themselves, then what kind of relationship do you actually have? So the best thing, we say be, do, or at least I do. I mean, I know people here will, but it's be, do, and have, not the other way around. So become the kind of person for whom, you love yourself and trust yourself and have faith in yourself and like your own company. And then you can do that toward extend that toward other people so that you can have those kinds of relationships back. But if you're expecting them to fulfill you so that you have something so that you then feel fulfilled, I've had this relationship, we've connected now, and now I'm, everything is better. Those are usually the ones that you see go away, or they stay together in misery for a very long time. So all of the little things, I'm going to wrap it up with it. All the things that John said, write letters, Scott started with, Kellen, all the stuff that we can, and Barry, and of course the other Scott, all the things that we can do to help someone feel valid or liked or appreciated or connected with you are the same kinds of things we can do to yourself. How about writing yourself a love letter?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Absolutely.
Absolutely. My what now wisdom for today happened to be a Zig Ziglar quote that I heard for the first time a few weeks ago. And it was, you always brighten a room. The only question becomes, is it when you come in or when you leave?
I love that.
That works.
I had never heard it before, and it's so true. I mean, we're talking about relationships here, and are you the one that brings the light into the room, or are you the one who sucks the light out and brings in the cloud? Takes I mean, there are some people that, boy, they can turn a bright sunny day into just a huge gray mess, and you just go, why? Why would you do that? And then, like right now, we've got rain going on. We've seen rain like I think twice this year. I don't know. We haven't seen a lot of it, and it's like we're celebrating rain because we haven't seen it, and it's like, hey, the sod actually looks like it might live. Isn't this a good thing? So it's really interesting, and so many of these shows circle back around at some point in time to choice, and the choices we make, we can be excited about them, or we can just think everything blows. I mean, and I love the fact that John writes the letters and everything, and with 5 letters he can get a whole word out of that. That's good. 5. That's a whole joke. Yeah, that's right. I'll be back at 10.
And the word is whole.
But I mean, the point is that relationships are all about how, again, it's so funny. I had a lady, I was in the grocery line the other day, and she was having a conversation with the checker, and they said something, and I was smiling. And she all of a sudden spun around and went, "What are you smiling at?" I said, "You." And she goes, "Oh." And she finishes up her thing, and it was semi awkward.
Yeah.
And she starts to leave, and she spins around. She goes, "Keep smiling, thanks."
Wow.
It was funny, weird, awkward, but she goes, "It's really nice to have somebody smile at me. I'm not accustomed to it. That's why I ask. Why are you smiling?"
It's almost a shame that has to be a surprising moment that someone would give you a smile.
Yeah.
Or be like that. It's a shame that we're expecting people to be scowling or not paying attention or something,
When is the last time you've done that to a stranger? I'll tell you, years and years ago, I had pulled up to the local grocery store, kind of what Scott was talking about. And some lady said, "I really like your car." And then I was young and single. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And it turns out she was a Lexus salesperson. And we had a great conversation. But I'll tell you what, I got off the train 4 or 5 years ago, and some lady came up to me, and I always wear a pocket square on my suit coat. And she goes, "I just want to stop you to tell me you look amazing. Have a great day." I got to tell you, man, I was on cloud 9 all day long. So what I do now, without being weird, is you try to stop someone once or twice a day to say, "Hey, you know what? You're great. I love your car. Have a great day. You look beautiful." And again, that's a fine line because it can get sketchy if they call it cops.
Yeah.
But if you just literally, I saw some lady not too long ago, and I got to tell you, she was stunning. And I went up to her and I said, "Hey, I'm happily married. I just want to tell you, you look beautiful. Have a great day." And she said,
John, to fill in the front end of your story, you drove away with a new Lexus and no date. Is that kind of how that ended?
I actually have bought, in the last 20 years, have bought 8 cars from that lady. From that.
Now that's a good relationship.
It's a great
She's a salesperson.
relationship. The woman that I told this to, or even a man you can tell it to, "Dude, you look great. I like your suit," whatever. They walk away with a skip in their step because nobody pays compliments anymore. Nobody.
Yeah.
It's a simple 30-second. You're at the grocery store. You're at the gas station. Simple comment. "How are you?" And what you forget is what you said is great, but how you made them feel for the. You know what they're going to do? They're going to go home to their family and say, "You know what? Some guy liked my suit. Some guy liked my pocket. Some guy liked my truck." It carries on multiple times, and it takes 30 seconds. I think people don't realize a simple compliment is so simple to do, but everyone's afraid to do it.
Well, I want to add to that because
Go ahead.
because how many times a day are you complimented by somebody? And that should tell you how many times a day somebody else is complimented by somebody. If we're on the low end of getting compliments, genuine, sincere, not the pickup line stuff, but the stuff that is really genuine, it ought to teach us that if we're low on that meter, it's not because you don't deserve them, it's just that people don't do them, and so that's something that we can do. So it's a nice thing to keep in mind. In one of my programs, I got a program called "How to Get People to Do What You Want Without Begging, Pleading, Whining, and Guilt Tripping," and I tell a story. And that we were, and I don't know if I ever shared this here, but my then wife and I were looking for a couch, a sofa, a divan, whatever you want to call it. And we'd been everywhere, and salespeople did their traditional sales everywhere we went. And we're not getting any closer to finding anything that she liked or that I liked, and what we both liked were quite different. She wanted something that would look good in the house, and I wanted something that I could just relax and lounge, typical male thing. And so we met this woman who said, "I think I have the perfect couch for you. Look at it. This is going to be beautiful in your house based on your description, Rex. You're going to love how it feels. Go ahead and sit down." Well, long story short, we spent 2 or more hours talking to her about everything. We talked about her kids that lived in Colorado and this, that, and the other thing, until they were finally, as the store was closing, it was nighttime, and they're like, "Would everybody leave the furniture department? Would you, go home?" Well, she didn't make the sale. And a lot of salespeople think in terms of quotas or numbers. Like, okay, that was a lost sale. You know what she got instead? Referrals for years from us because we loved her so much that anytime somebody needed furniture or something, we would go see this lady over here. She will take care of you. We didn't buy, but plenty of people did. And the problem with most people is they think in terms of the immediate success. Like, I closed the sale today. They don't think of the long game, you know, and that is how many people refer me if I add value to everybody, if I connect, if I'm loving, if I'm kind, if I'm generous, you know, and that's really, if the client, the customer, your family member, or anyone knows that their interests are in your heart and that you're there to help them, serve them, uplift them, edify them, whatever, then you can have a friend or a client or a customer for life. If they think instead that you're out to get something from them, part their money from them or their body, you know, or whatever it might be that you could possibly want, then not so much. So if you go into it with a pure heart and you're just genuinely a good person and genuinely interested in other people, so much can transpire and so much magic can happen. That
I think that's the biggest part is people far too often people think sales is linear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that if I do A, B happens, and sales is whatever sales takes. I mean, sales is about a relationship, and if you can make that relationship quickly because, you know, you're there to sell, they're there to buy, and it fits that way, and you can gain that trust because you serve them that well that fast, cool, then it is linear. That is the exception. That is not the rule.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule becomes create the relationship. I mean, it's one of the things that I train on constantly, the know, like, and trust. And actually the three absolutes, what's in it for them? You got to come from an others orientation. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. You have to have trust. But people take action when they're ready. So by definition, you have to have trust ahead of when they're ready. Because if you don't have, if they have to have trust and you don't have it ahead of when they're ready, that means you're forcing it. And it's not going to turn out well for anybody. Well, that's the exact same thing in a relationship. You've got to develop trust, and that starts with getting to know you, being goofy, getting to like you, you know, whatever, you know, having some fun, smiling, wanting to be, you know, you don't want to be Debbie Downer or Donnie Downer and be somebody that people want to leave. You want to be someone that people want to be around because of whatever reason. Gain that trust. And then when they're ready to take whatever action that is, whether that's a relationship action, a purchase action, any of those kinds of things. And that's the thing that most people aren't willing to put in the time to build the relationship. Relationships are not easy, but you gotta share time, you gotta share interest, you gotta share knowledge. And when that all happens, all of a sudden there's a relationship, and it's like, how do you do this? Well, you care.
Scott, you make a great point about people not putting in the time, because we've become this, you know, we're the instant mashed potato society. You don't boil real potatoes anymore. You make instant. It's fast. It's easy. Friendships are the same.
Yeah.
You know, what do two people do when they meet? Hey, friend me on Facebook. And now that's become that term friend me has taken over the term, or almost the definition of friendship for the younger generation, especially. So everything is instant and everything is throwaway. Time built into relationships, really the place where we see that now most, although some people figure it out and they do it in their business and they do it maybe with their tribe. But most people, the only place they experience those long relationships and longevity of relationships is within the family. And what I want to put to you guys is, what if that is toxic? Breaking away from a relationship with a family member that is toxic is a very, very difficult thing to do. Now, husband and wife, I guess that's family. You know, that's, but when you get into your parents or your brother or your sister or something like that, that can become really difficult, but it happens. We can be in toxic familial relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Barry, let's okay. Go ahead, Rex. Go ahead.
Well, sorry, Barry.
That's all right.
I'm a person who does not like people who go, these people are energy vampires, so I'm cutting them out of my life. I think, you know what, the whole thing, if you go back, by the way, I hate most of the new self-help books out there, with the exception of the present company. But there's so much out there about boundaries and toxic relationships and, people who are out to get you and this and the other thing. What you spend your time dwelling on and thinking about all day long is kind of what you end up creating and having. And so if you're worried about people being toxic or boundary, overstepping their bounds and things like that, you got to figure out how much you're contributing to that. If you go back to the Bible, it would say, somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn to the other cheek. They didn't go just pound them harder, or run away. It was like answer with love. And I think the thing that is missed so much today, and you can go back to ancient thought leaders, Buddha and Jesus and everybody. You can go into the kind of thought leaders I really liked around the turn of the century, and stuff like that. And they will say, shower the person that is the problem with love. See them behaving in your mind with love, and be willing to forgive, to cut loose, to let go, but love them. Don't project the problems with the relationship you have with them. Project the kind of person that they are without all of the issues. Like, who are they authentically? Who's their authentic self? And love them and shower it. And the same for yourself. And when you do that, you open up the possibilities for things to change far more than cutting them off. Now, all that said, because people say, well, if it's a dangerous situation, obviously have the common sense to, extract yourself or do what's necessary. I'm not telling anyone that they can't cut the people off or to separate from them if that's what they feel they should do. But they can separate from themselves and still shower them with love and still do all of the things that would be, because it's not just about them. It's about what you're doing to yourself. Like Buddha said, drinking poison, expecting it to hurt the other person. If all your energy goes into what a terrible person this is and how I have to get rid of them, they're not feeling that from you so much as you're feeling that. So let it go and be loving and accepting and allowing and turn the other cheek kind of thing. And you rise high, in other words, instead of going to the lowest. And then whatever you do, whether you cut them off or keep them or whatever, that can be part of it.
Rex, I think we go black and white sometimes when we're talking about you either keep them or cut them off. There's a lot of gray area in there where you could change the parameters about how much energy you're going to put into certain things. And listen, I love my brother. I'm not the guy who wants to spend every day with him because he makes me nuts, but I love my brother, and I'm just going to see him on the weekends and do things. So there's a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be all or nothing, right, Rex?
Well, I want to give you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of consulting right now in a couple of sentences, which will probably take a few paragraphs. Even in Think and Grow Rich, Your Laws of Success, Napoleon Hill would say, imagine the other person whom you're selling saying yes and being agreeable and all that kind of stuff. That's not to psychically get them to say yes, but that's how most people think about it. Well, if I imagine them saying yes, then they will say yes. No, it's so that you stay resourceful while you're with them, so that if they are getting, no, I don't want it, if you lose the energy of, isn't this wonderful, we have a relationship, I have value, and you start, getting depressed and caving in and sinking, they pick that up too. Maybe not consciously, but everything that the energy of the relationship now changes, because instead of being in an excellent resource state, you're in a less than glorious state. And that people notice. So Hill tells people, he goes, just always hold people in the highest esteem. See everything going the way you want. See them behaving the way you want. And again, not to control them, not because that's going to be the outcome, but to maintain your positivity and your optimism and your loving kindness. And that's, so many people are trying to influence other people instead of influencing themselves and let the relationships unfold, because you're open and accepting and loving and kind, and you're not dealing with base items or low energy kind of items.
And just again, to repeat what Rex just said, we're not talking about any situations where you're put in violence or danger. And I don't want anybody to mistake that. There's no such thing as turn the other cheek when you're being abused and things like that. You take care of yourself, to take care of your family. But Barry, dealing with relationships that aren't quite working well, and Rex gave us a point of view on that. What do you see?
I would underscore what Rex has said, and I mean, the term about like resentment, like you're saying, the Buddha said, like you take poison expecting the other person to die. We have a bad habit when somebody we don't like is away from us, is to take them with us, meaning that we may have somebody we hate, detest, and despise. But the thing is, if we keep carrying that energy inside of us, they're still with us, even if we're 2,000 miles away from them. That doesn't serve us. So the more, and I saw somebody else on Sunday about the challenge a lot of times with people is we have problems with the way that they act. We don't want to be around them. Here's the thing, though. You could love somebody massively without liking them. that differentiation will save your life, because you can be in the world around certain people, and yeah, you want to be around them, you love being around them, but there are people you don't want to be around. You still love them, you still be kind to them, still be gracious. As Rex was saying, like that resource state is when you're being kind to yourself, because it's the biggest key, is when your relationship with yourself is healthy. Because anything you do that's judgment based is impacting your own health. It doesn't change anybody else. So the more that you can be kind and compassionate with yourself, and yes, at least respectful or at least polite with other people who you don't want to be around, that's a win. And yes, in circumstances where there's somebody like a family, John Bradshaw said in one of his books, if you want to know how evolved you are, go home for Thanksgiving. That's the thing, is that most people, when they go home for Thanksgiving, are resenting the idea they're going to go home for Thanksgiving. Now, gratefully, some people go home for Thanksgiving. It's a lot of fun, a lot of joy. But the thing is, if you can't be around your family, don't spend 365 days around them, So it's about taking care of yourself. And the thing about it is also, it's a learning lessons about do things for yourself, not against somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I think we when things aren't feeling right, we really do like to point the finger and find a cause instead of just. I mean, is it possible that people just don't vibe and don't get along? Is it possible, Barry, that sometimes people get together and they really think they're interested? The more they get to know each other, it just doesn't gel. Is that possible?
Well, it's interesting being single, being on the dating apps, seeing the number of women out there who, and I'm sure men are doing the same thing, or like saying, if you like Trump, don't like me, sort of thing, So there are people definitely can have the disparate viewpoints on life. I actually had an experience last week where somebody who's a friend of mine, known quite a long time, and after what happened with Israel and Gaza last weekend, I posted something. Being from a Jewish background, not that I'm particularly religious or anything like that, I have a certain loyalty to one side of the conversation. And I made some points about history. And he attacked my post. This is, again, on social media, so just to be clear, it's like the social media game we used to play. Yeah. But he attacked it with such vitriol and upset, and how he was so clear on the other side of the conversation without any understanding and compassion across the gap. And I realized that I wasn't doing it either. So I changed my tack. I not reached out to him, but I reached out to the post that was there and said, thank you for reminding me to be centered, to see both sides of the conversation, because I'd forgotten. But he didn't get it. He didn't take it. He didn't come back to meet me. The thing is that part of me is saddened by that, because I thought he would choose in as well. But at the same time, I can't control that. So I just move on with it. And it's interesting because I sort of keep an ear out, sort of thing, like hopefully he'll reach back, sort of thing, or he'll comment back or something like that. If I see him, which I might see him in a couple of weeks, I might mention it to him, I might not, but I'll still be kind to him. So difference of opinion can be gotten over.
Right.
But it can be in relationships, especially deal breakers. Because if one person, a relationship I had a long time ago was with a woman who was vegetarian, and I'm not. And it wasn't a wedge, but it became one. So there are certain things in relationships that can be really challenging, that when you meet somebody, you gloss over those things. That's about red flags and green flags in relationships. It should be in every relationship. When you meet somebody in business, how many red flags are they waving? How many green flags are they waving? Find those people that you meet with and have rapport with, because it's be easier to work with them. You don't have to sell to everybody. If you're in business and selling, you don't have to sell to everybody. Sell to people you want to sell to, that you want to enjoy being around, that you want to have good customer relationships with. So the same thing too in relationships of any sort. You should get to choose who you want to hang out with. The good news is, with 8.5 billion people on the planet, you can choose a good number of people you want to hang out with and not worry about anybody else.
I think the people I've been in relationships with have lost a lot of sleep because obviously while I'm sleeping at night, they're sewing new red flags together because I wake up to a bunch of them every morning. I was actually when Teresa and I were together, we chose, you got your hall pass, you meet that one person, you get a freebie, and hers was Brad Pitt. And I said, listen, you meet Brad Pitt, you got a chance, no problem. And she asked, okay, who's on your list? I said the girl from Applebee's. I got in so much trouble. I don't understand why. I didn't know there were rules. All right.
Well, you could have said the college swim team.
I could have. So, Kellen, what do you think about all this, darling?
Well, I've got 32 points I'd like to go over. No,
32 points. Oh my.
No,
have you noticed?
What?
You like lists.
I do. I'm a list person.
This is the girl you hate sitting next to in college because she keeps looking over. Aren't you going to write this down? Aren't you going to write that down?
That's right.
Go ahead,
I was good to sit next to in college, by the way. Okay. We'll leave it there. No, I was just thinking about the different levels of relation, like regarding families, the different levels of relationships. Because I dreaded Thanksgiving, and my brother dreaded Thanksgiving. And the year that he actually flew to California to be with us with his wife, it was. I can't even tell you how bad it was. Okay, so and that was the last year they ever had Thanksgiving with us too, and it was just. Part of it's because my mom was a really bad cook and she cooked everything the day before and froze it. And it was, it was just a nightmare. But I was thinking about the black and white relationship because my brother and I are somewhat estranged. He was 5 years older than me. He moved out of the house before me. We went to the same college, but he was graduated before I was a freshman. We seem to just keep missing each other. And I don't know that we even have, is there such a thing as a non-relationship? Because we text each other. When my mom passed away, he flew out to this funeral service and we had lunch together. But I mean, I feel like that there's actually no relationship with the relationship I have with my brother is a no relationship. And like, I don't hate him, but I'm not like climbing walls or saying, hey, I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with you this year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and that's what's working for me and what's healthy for me. Because if I tried to force a relationship, like I want you to be the brother that I never had, it's not going to happen. I'd be setting myself up for disappointment. But I don't want to say I hate you and I'm never going to talk to you again because you weren't there for me when I need, you know what I'm saying? So as far as the gray areas in relationships and family, I'm saying that it's okay to have a non-relationship.
Well, I like that. And when you said something kind of cool, because it's like you can't assign roles to people. Say, all right, we're going to have a relationship and here's what you need to fulfill for me. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. It's not a job opening, Right. And it's either there or it's not there, or you find new ways to define it. I sat back, we're going to do a wrap up now, but I sat back and thought from the time I was 15 years old until I was 55, so 43 years, or no, 42, whatever it is. I never spent more than 1 week without a partner. Never spent more than 1 week alone. Wow. Where I would leave a marriage and within days be seeing somebody or doing something. And I couldn't understand why none of these things worked. I mean, it was just like, because I was always seeking relationships in a desperation measure to fulfill something, as we've all talked about, within myself that I didn't do myself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I talk about like being an emotional vampire, where it's like, I need you to like me so I can like me. I need you to love me so I can love me. And I couldn't do that on my own. And I did that for so long. And it's not until now, these past 2.5, 3 years, that I've lived alone and been exploring my own talent, my own things to do, and building new kinds of relationships, that I started to realize that, the one thing I needed the whole time was right there, and it was me. The one thing I needed, when I kept looking at everybody else saying, why am I not finding love? Why am I not finding this? I had it, but I just didn't know it was in there. I thought it was somewhere else. And I think that's unfortunately where a lot of relationships come from. By the way, you do understand that 48% of all marriages end in divorce. You guys do understand that.
Yep.
And the other 52% end in death. So there's no good way out of this thing, all right? No good way. There's not like a happy ending for anybody.
It's not
And you
about-
know what's funny
No.
is sorry. Go
I
ahead.
say it's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yes. Well, I was just thinking that since I've turned this like relationship value to dating, you know, the family non-relationship, because when you're dating, you have all these boxes you have to check off. He needs to check off this box, this box. But you know, when you have family, you don't have the choice of checking off the boxes.
Right.
So I'm like, so why are there boxes? So I found that eliminating the boxes everywhere has made things much happier and more joyful.
I like that. Let's go around and do a little wrap up. John?
Hey, thanks for the positive news that 48% end in divorce and 52% in no. Bring it in the story, but my positive news on that is those bastards that got divorced need to refinance their partners out of it. So you got to call them.
I love it.
Regardless of that, I used to have a buddy, and we used to do the hanger theory. And if you're networking, if you're listing, and if you're networking, the best way to network is first coat off, last coat on. You want to get to your meeting early. You want to network. You want to be there. You want to let people know you do. You want to follow up. And I know it's kind of offshoot about what we're talking, but Jesus Christ, Scott, that the whole theory you gave me just threw my shit right off what you told me. So the point is what we're talking about on here is vibing with your tribe, hanging out, following up. And you know, the key thing is making sure your customers are okay. You know, get away from your sales point of it. Pick up the phone. Hey, Doris, you okay? I know things were tough. Things are good. You might get the deal. You might not get the deal. But it goes back to the relationship. Being that relationship provider is amazing. It garners more relationships than I think people. I had a lady, quick story, moved from New Hampshire to Zephyr Hills, Florida. She called me, excuse me, her husband called me every step of their way till they closed today. That to me is a relationship. Hey, we're at the hotel. Hey, we made the traffic. You know what? To me, I don't care if it was an $88,000 deal or $1 million deal. That to me, when Doris closed on her house today at 12:15, and she called me and said, thank you for everything, I was blown away. I was done. So I think closing comments, meaning it's not the size of the deal. It's not that. You really want to stay in contact with your people because that's your next deal. That's your next relationship.
Well, John, you have given me a new mission in life, and that is to find a topic that you cannot turn into a story about mortgage or financing. I'm going to find it somewhere.
It's never going to happen, brother. It's never going to happen.
You keep being you, brother. I love you, man. Scott, what do you take out of this today, brother?
Well, you know, it's interesting because when John was saying that, it popped up a recent interaction I had with in behalf of a client, somebody who used to be their client. And, you know, I said, why did you disengage? Why did you leave? And he said, you know how long I've been gone? I said, no, I just know that you disengaged. I don't know exactly when. He said, 3 years. And I said, oh, interesting. I knew that I just didn't know what the time frame was. How about re-engaging? He goes, no. And I said, why wouldn't you consider it? Because nobody noticed I disengaged and nobody ever asked me why.
Wow.
And I think that's, you know, it was a really valuable piece because when you coach, and I'm sure Rex and I'm sure all the coaches here have said this at some point in time, you're going to hear what you need to hear, not what you want to hear necessarily. And sometimes it's feedback like that you have to give to a client to say, you know, it brought up another story. I had literally a Fortune 500 company that retained me, and they said, oh, we're absolutely amazing. We put on 1,500 accounts a month. I said, oh my God, that's amazing. You know, so why are you bringing me into sales training? He said, because our volumes keep on going down. I said, well, how do you put on 1,500 accounts a month and your volumes go down? And they said, well, we lose 2,200 a month. And they said, can you handle this through sales training? I said, absolutely. They said, what are you going to teach us? I'm going to teach you how to shut the back door. I'm going to teach you how to take care of the people you already have. We're going to stop people leaving. If we stop people leaving, we don't have to add people on the other side. The cost of acquisition is so much higher. It's so much harder. There's so much extra work. So I went to one of their salespeople and I said, you had this account and they were there for 18 months and they left. I said, when was the last time you talked to them? He said, 18 months ago when I put them on. And I said, and you wonder? And relationships are the same thing. Now, we can't talk to every relationship we have, and you can't do it with everybody all the time. But hopefully you've got enough relational capital built up that it extends over time, that the time that expires, you've got some investment, you've got some spending capital in there that when you recirculate and you come back around and you reconnect, you know, there's still capital there because you've put so much in during the time that you're there. And I think that that's the thing that people don't get is they don't invest it really is investing time and energy and caring and making sure that people are okay and understanding that, you know, the old cliche, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's an old cliche because it's freaking true. You know, if people don't think you care about them, none of us would be here every week if you guys didn't care about us. You know, You and Lynn, you know, are so appreciative of us being here. You know, that's why you come back, you know, because you want to be appreciated and you want to be of service to other people. And you know, when that service is appreciated, why do people leave? Because people stop caring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. So,
Scott, I got to say that is probably one of the clearest examples of business relationships and how to maintain them. This story about that many people coming in, but that many people going out. That's such a clear example. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
that was
it was
really
crazy.
Yeah. And I can't imagine how many companies actually are existing that way. It's probably a lot more than we would think,
Well,
right?
It's because management is churn. Get people.
Yeah.
You got to close people. How many people have you closed today? How many people have you called today?
Yeah.
How many have you told to go pound? I mean, in essence, that's what you're doing by the way you're doing this.
Exactly.
It's so it's
I know.
They
want the stack of new signatures, new contracts, but they're not thinking about what's happening with the old ones. So
yeah.
So
anyway,
Barry, what do you think?
To kind of follow up to Scott.
There we go. Barry, what do you think?
Oh, there you are. In follow up to what Scott said, the thing is that you talk about the numbers of people who get divorced. If people who were in a relationship committed the amount of time that Scott was talking about to love, to be kind, to make time for, to invest in, there'd be a lot less divorces. A lot of people's divorces happen not just because of yes, a lot happen for irreconcilable differences, but a lot also end because of apathy. And the lack of care, the lack of continuous support is what sometimes is what destroys relationships. So one of the things I recommend in a relationship is to keep putting the energy in. And it's funny, what Scott said just reminded me, one of the things I do in terms of relationship capital, so to speak, and it sounds so simple, but it works really well, is that on Facebook, if you have a lot of people as friends on Facebook, you tend to get a number of notifications of birthdays each day. I make it a point to reach out and say happy birthday to every person every day that I get on my list. One of my morning activities. It's fun. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But people will tend to stay connected through that. And it's one of the easiest things to do because Facebook gives you each day whose birthday it is. So like, it's a no-brainer. But you can say happy birthday in their name, put it on their wall or whatever, or send a message. So there's easy ways to create relationships and continue relationships that don't require the effort, I'm sorry, John, of writing lots of letters. But actually, I want to say something from what John said. The power of that is amazing. How many people, though, write letters to themselves?
Yeah.
How many people take the time? And this is one thing I recommend if you want to have fun with this, is write a letter to your future self in a year or 5 years and put it away and don't look at it until that time. You might be amazed at what you write to yourself. So if you put the energy into putting that support in yourself, you're creating an ongoing support system for your own relationship with yourself. Doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or if you're in business, whatever you're doing, you can create a better relationship with yourself by doing simple things like this. So
excellent. I love that. As always, Barry, man, you bring such good insight to us with this stuff.
I'm surrounded by wisdom.
Yeah, I love it. It's the magic of the pineapple, brother. That's what it is. Rex, are we taking? Do we take this stuff too seriously? Are we putting too much focus on some of this stuff?
Well, the biggest thing that stands in the way of people getting what they want is clinging to what they want and being desperate for it instead of trusting and being certain that it's going to happen and having the faith in yourself and in the universe or God or whatever that you can bring it about. If we get needy and desperate, whether it's with ourselves or another person or around money or a business or a car or something, we get in our own way. And the easiest way to go through anything is to be grateful for what you have. And then it, appreciation appreciates. And what happens is a lot of people, go, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, and I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I'm so glad I have this, and I have this, and I have this, but I hate that, and I hate that, and I hate that. You've got one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat. The key is have fun. There are people, I had one of the most wonderful conversations. We spent hours talking on the phone with somebody who's very important to me, as a person, but she had done some traveling and she said, and I'm not going to step on it because I said, you have to turn this into a TED Talk. You've got to do something. You've got this remarkable experience. But her thing was, she got to spend time with people who were a community. They had nothing. They had no problem sharing, being happy, being grateful, delighting. And just, she was like, we spent more time crying because they're so loving. They're so kind. They're so giving. And we live in a world that is theory. You can have anything you want. You can have multiple cars and multiple homes and multiple spouses and multiple this and multiple that. And so many people are miserable. And part of it is that ambition to acquire rather than going, you know what, the world is perfect as it is. And I swear, the more that you let go and delight and have fun and celebrate everything, the more you can have everything. All that stuff, because all these things the Bible says can be added unto you, but you first have to be in the right place. You renew yourself through the transforming of your mind, or you transform yourself through the renewing of your mind, and then live life and live it abundantly. And all the scriptures in the Bible or any of the religious texts that you want to study are all about what's added to you after you just have become a person, who loves life and is happy. And it makes it easier. If you're going around counting wounds and, or scabs on your body, you're paying attention to the wrong thing.
Right.
So, it's lighten up, have fun, love, and be peaceful with yourself and others. And just, John's thing about having compliments, the idea of making someone else feel good for no reason at all, other than you can help a person feel good, is so beautiful.
Absolutely. There's no better way to elevate yourself than to elevate someone else.
Right.
And you just automatically feel that. Kellen, what do you think, darling? You get to wrap us up tonight.
I thought I was done already.
No, I didn't. I decided you weren't done. Say something. Say something that's going to make us all sleep well tonight. No pressure, though. No pressure.
No, I've got plenty to say. I just don't know what to pick. No, I'm going to
got
go
1
back
minute.
to John. I'm going back to John. If you have a heart of gratitude, you will build a relationship instead of have the client. It'll make you feel better inside. It'll make whoever you're sending the things to feel better inside. And it's just an all around wonderful thing to do. And when you're wanting to build a relationship, I think gratitude is one of my top ways to do that.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, gratitude. I have gratitude for all of you guys, as always, for showing up. Love goes out to Lynn. I know you couldn't be here, and she was checking in. Love you, Lynn. We all care about you. And just a personal note, happy birthday to my father, Hayden Jones.
Yes.
You know, you taught me a lot about the man I wanted to be. You taught me how to stop fighting the wind in my life and start just adjusting my sails and enjoying the ride. And I appreciate that, Dad, and I love you. All of you guys, it's been a great show. It's been a great show. As always, you guys have been watching for my guest Rex, John, Barry, Kellen, Scott, and me, Scott Jones. You're one of your hosts. And Lynn, we want to thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time right here on Lynn, Scott, and Friends Show.
Keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall